Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Five Nights at Freddy's, the 2023 film based on the game series of a Chuck E. Cheese-inspired kids' eatery arcade where horrible things happen. This movie was designed for YouTube horror Easter egg hunters to devour. So let's break this down scene by scene for the Easter eggs you might have missed, and not just nods to the games, but to other great pop horror like Scream and It, and a lot of people that you have seen on this platform. By the way, New Rockstars is going to be doing a live show in Los Angeles at Brain Dead Studios. I'm gonna be there. Come hang out with me. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Ticket info is in the description. Okay, in the opening seconds, we see a few video glitches over the opening Universal logo, the Blumhouse logo, just like the video monitor throughout the games and throughout this film. Over black, we hear the sound of a squeaking screw, and we see the previous security guard rushing to open an air vent to escape. Now, this guard was going to be played by YouTuber Markiplier, but he had to turn down the role due to some scheduling conflicts with his own film, Iron Lung. This security guard would be the guy in the game who leaves voice recordings for you, the guy who had the job before you do. In the security office, we see the Celebrate poster, just as there is in the security office in the games. There's also a metal fan, there's a red and white striped drinking cup. They really just got the attention to detail perfect. This whole idea of fleeing an unseen monster through vents, having only a flashlight, recalls the death of Dallas and Alien, as well as the humans fleeing the Xenomorph warriors throughout the vents in the follow-up, Aliens. But in the Five Nights at Freddy's games, vents just kind of show up a lot, but largely in sister location and in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, where you can only get to the security office by coming in through the vents. But the guard is grabbed and he's locked in this chair as sharp gears of the interior of the animatronic mask lower down upon his face. We actually see the poor guard's face framed through the mouth, like the creature is devouring him. This is exactly the kind of fate that the voice recording of the past security guard warns you about in the game. Now, as the guard nearly wriggles free, the eyepieces narrow, the red light for the pupils shrinking as if the animatronic is onto him. Actually, the metallic spiral of these irises opening and closing reminds me of the greasy metal apertures of the Nostromo air vents in Alien. Then we see kids' drawings depicting the kid ghosts who haunt the animatronics, including Cassidy, that's Golden Freddy, Gabriel, Freddy, Jeremy, Bonnie, Fritz, Foxy, and Susie, Chica. And in the middle of all these, you see Yellow Rabbit holding their hands ominously. But there's also a drawing of a kid labeled David, which I was wondering might be a nod to David Miller. That's William Afton's fake name in the book, The Silver Eyes. Now, in the game, kids' drawings like this are inside of the security office, but here in the movie, they're kind of out on display in the main part of the pizzeria. The opening credits are awesome of this movie. They depict these 8-bit pixel arts of a video game, which look exactly like the Five Nights at Freddy's arcade minigames that you play within the game. We see the 5 kids from Mike's Recurring Dreams, the Ghost Kids, but we also see a dark figure, the purple guy, putting on the Yellow Rabbit costume, aka Spring Bonnie. And the first time we see it, which actor's name appears over this? Matthew Lillard, written in the color purple. He's the purple guy. The way he lowers the mask over his head is exactly the way William does it in the final act of this movie. In the game, the wearer of the puppet suit is a mysterious purple guy. That's why he's known as the purple guy. And really, anytime the color purple just shows up, yeah, no, Spring Bonnie's coming. We see the Yellow Rabbit figure taking the kids away one by one. And as he comes to the last kid, notice the claw and the claw machine in the background hanging over the toys. I love this detail because really the plan is to claw these kids into the suits as their bodies rot. Actually, in the corner of that claw machine game, you can see a purple face with black and white eyes and a crooked smile, which is very similar to the face we often see on the purple guy. Okay, 6 a.m. Actually, first we just see the digital numbers in a black void, and then in the context of the nightstand clock in this sunlit room. But 6 a.m. on a black screen is really the recurring time in the games when your shift is over. It means you survived the night. But really, throughout this movie, time is just a key component. As on Mike's first night, his very first shift, we see it is 3 a.m. on the clock, and in the game, nothing happens that first night until Bonnie moves at 3 a.m. Also on Mike's nightstand, it's a framed photo of Mike Schmidt and his brother Garrett and their parents, but there's some medication bottle for leprosalam, which is a sleep medication, setting up Mike's recurring sleep issues. But this is also similar to the pill bottle on the side of the bed in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. We also see a copy of the book called Dream Theory, which comes back throughout this movie. It's a reference to the most popular fan theory for the game series that the events of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through 3 are really a dream. We later get a close-up of the cover showing that this is the 5th translation. I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it's a nod to this being a follow-up to Five Nights at Freddy's 4. I don't know. But the cover art shows a maze with an easily accessible center, and then on the corner, a white rabbit logo, which I thought could be a reference to Lewis Carroll, Adventures in Wonderland, following the white rabbit down the hole, which also got referenced in a similar reality-bending dream movie, The Matrix. It could also be a reference to Vanny, the main antagonist of Security Breach, who wears a patchwork white bunny suit with glowing red eyes. On Mike's Mike's ceiling is a Nebraska poster. In the games, a Nebraska Freddy's location is mentioned, but the main events of the Freddy's location are in Utah. Mike's little sister Abby sleeps in a tent in her next room, like Cole in The Sixth Sense, always spending a lot of time in a tent. Both kids seem to be pursued by ghosts. Mike's coworker Jeremiah reads this dream theory book.
And though the dreamer remains asleep, he walks through memory as if experiencing it for the first time anew. No longer a passenger, but an active participant.
This really is the thematic basis of this film, and it's the way Mike believes that he can revisit memories to experience them actively, to relive his brother's abduction, to learn who took him, and though he's hesitant to admit it, to try to change the past, which obviously is something you can't do. Now, in this ice cream shop in the mall, the rainbow that forms the shop logo is actually the same rainbow from Chica's minigame in Five Nights at Freddy's Worlds. Mike sees a kid who reminds him of Garrett being taken aggressively by his dad, thinking that it's another abduction, and he tackles into the fountain the man who we actually learn is the boy's real father. But the kid he first sees versus the kid in reality, when he flashes back to this moment later, these are two different kids. Mike just saw him initially as his brother Garrett. It casts this whole movie within an unreliable narrator perspective. We don't really know if the reality we see can be trusted. Now, we learn via a security camera screen that this takes place on April 6th, 2000. Since the kids disappeared in the 80s, it would need to be in the year 2000 now for the timeline to match up, but it also gives this movie a whole nostalgic feel from our perspective. We're at the end of the 90s, the decade of the movie Scream and Chuck E. Cheese birthday parties. But it's also kind of that weird forgotten void after the millennium, but before 9/11. The millennium was kind of a nexus point that was cited in Scream by Randy Meeks as something that erases the need for psychopaths to need a motive, kind of like a centennial full moon. Mike meets Steve, career counselor. Yeah, it kind of seems like he's humming the same song that we heard the animatronic humming in the opening attack. He's played by Matthew Lillard, whom you'll know from our recent breakdown of 1996's Scream, played Stu, who was, spoiler warning for a movie 27 years old, Stu was one of the two killers in that original Scream film, foreshadowing a similar twist reveal at the end of this movie. Now, since the first security guard dies, Steve fills in as kind of the phone guy, giving the first night instructions, which is actually kind of like one of MatPat's early theories, where he thought that the purple guy was the phone guy. And that's kind of what this movie does in effect here. Also notice that Steve wears a purple tie, setting him up as a purple guy. Steve perks up when he realizes Mike's last name is Schmidt, recognizing him as Garrett's older brother, I think. And Steve says that the pay isn't great, which is a nod to the game when you realize that your paycheck is just for 120 bucks at the end of the week. Mike tries to get Abby to eat.
You're sitting on my friend.
And he warns that for kids who don't eat dinner, their bodies stay the same size forever, and she looks back at the spot on the bed, which is likely the blonde boy ghost already targeting this family, and that's what happens when these ghost kids die. Their bodies just kind of stay the same size forever. In his dream, Mike revisits the memory of Garrett's abduction, and we see how the color yellow is triggering for him. The yellow tent, the yellow frisbee that distracted him from following Garrett, the same color as the yellow rabbit. We're also reminded of Bill Denborough in Stephen King's It, who lost his little brother Georgie to a supernatural abduction, while Georgie was in a yellow raincoat. Georgie was playing with a paper boat. Garrett was playing with a red plane. But notice how this car has no license plate, which I interpret as Mike struggling to remember details that could help him track the abductor. Abby's teacher says,
"Before we learn to speak, images are the most important tool we have for understanding the world around us."
An important rule that gets applied throughout this movie. Also notice on the chalkboard, the spelling words include musician, puppet, bear, trophies, bunny, fox, and chick. All of these obviously applying to Freddy and his side characters and the dark things they do to their victims, turning them into trophies. But again, this is another like weird coincidence that seems to be happening in the real world. Just another clue that, like the movie Shutter Island, a lot of what is presented as reality might be part of a dream or an illusion or hallucination. So as Mike drives up to Freddy's for the first time, we hear Steve saying over the phone,
"The only reason they haven't given it the old wrecking ball treatment is the owner is a bit of a..."
Well, he's kind of a sentimental guy, I guess.
Yeah, even on the word sentimental, we suspect that he really is the sentimental one. He warns that the electricity is a bit iffy, which is a nod to how in the game you have to manage the electricity to keep the evil out. Mike finds an orientation video with his name already on it. In the background of this video, the guy tinkering with the animatronic is Henry Emily, the co-owner from Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. Henry's daughter, Charlotte Emily, was also William's first victim. And I could be wrong, but this guy kind of looks like the guy who plays Mike's dad in the flashbacks. So maybe Mike is connected to this by being the son of Henry Henry Emily. Later, Mike says that after their mom died, their dad, quote, couldn't take it anymore, and he just kind of trails off, which, you know, you could read as, you know, him ending things, or there could be some other kind of backstory there. The host of this video says,
"The genius who created Fazbear Entertainment opened Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria to indulge in his two greatest passions, family-friendly fun and cutting-edge animatronic technology."
Yeah, the host looks and sounds completely unhinged, like the creator of this chain, described as a genius. And notice how she has a ton of pieces of flair, kind of like that unhinged waiter at Tchotchke's in Office Space. I actually think Steve's shirt and his glasses are based on Milton from Office Space. The host introduces the robots. Yes, in the middle of that static, Freddy's face appears for just a frame or two, the same exact glitch from the game. Mike gets scared by the balloon boy in the locker. Balloon boy in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 would crawl through the vents and scare ya. Later, when Abby asks, "Hello?" walking through the arcade, it's the same kind of childlike hello that you hear from Balloon Boy in the games.
Hi.
So just so you guys know, I am busy like all the time. I don't have a ton of time to even sleep. So I have to make sure that when I do lay down, I'm gonna get the best sleep possible, which is why I was overjoyed to hear that today's video is being sponsored by Beam's Dream Powder. Dream Powder is a super tasty nighttime cocoa available with or without CBD. Dream comes in a variety of truly delicious flavors like cinnamon cocoa, chocolate peanut butter, and sea salt caramel, just to name a few. Chocolate peanut butter is my favorite personally, but that's just because I have impeccable taste. Each serving of Dream Powder contains no added sugar, is only 15 calories, and depending on what version you get, it contains ingredients such as melatonin, magnesium, and reishi extract to help you fall asleep and get the most restful sleep possible. All Dream Powder is gluten-free, keto-free, non-GMO, keto-friendly, vegan, and delicious. Oh yeah. Chocolate peanut butter right before bed, that's a nighttime routine I can get used to. I fall asleep faster and I wake up feeling, you know, it sounds silly, but I feel better, just more alert and better rested and, you know, better. The numbers don't lie. In a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them get better sleep. Click shopbeam.com/new rockstars or scan the QR code to shop Beam's biggest sale and get up to 50% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Discount auto applied, no code necessary. We see Mike sleeping on the job in front of the screens in this overhead shot, Dream Theory right in front of him, kind of like Neo sleeping in one of the early shots of The Matrix. Mike dreams of the 5 ghost kids, all with their flair representing the animatronics, the bunny ears, the hook hand, the hat, the bib. Actually, later, Mike finds Abby sleeping in a bed with a golden bear in her arms. Ooh. Sparky's Diner is not to Sparky the dog from the game, more on him in a bit, and we get a big cameo here.
You do realize that lunch is the most important meal of the day.
Hey, it's MatPat! Congrats, buddy! MatPat, of course, longtime crafter of some amazing Five Nights at Freddy's theories, and they even worked in his tagline.
Some people say that, but you know, it's just a theory.
Are you being paid by the word?
Actually, his name badge is Ness, which is a nod to MatPat's hot take that Sans is Ness. On the monitor screen, lightning flashes, showing the shadow of Foxy. Now, compared to the others, Foxy is more broken down, and I think that's because in the games, there is an out of order sign on his little Pirate Cove side stage, so really he would be broken down for longer than the rest of them. Now, in the games, Foxy is the most unpredictable one. You have to keep him from leaving his area of the Pirate Cove behind that curtain by checking it constantly, and if you don't, he will escape and sprint down the hallway toward the security office, and you only have a second or two to shut the security door before he gets there, or else he jumps in the room and gets you. In his next stream, Mike demands from them,
Who took Garrett?
Yeah, the camera cuts to the blonde boy for this one, because he would be the one with the answers. But instead, Mike chases the redhead in orange, representing Foxy, and that's why his arm gets slashed by the hook hand. Actually, the wound appears on his arm after he wakes up as well, reminding us of another Freddy dream movie series, Nightmare on Elm Street. You'll notice on the mirror, the words, "It's me," are traced in the dust. The text, "It's me," often appears on the screen of the game, and in the flickering light, Foxy appears in the hallway. Officer Vanessa Shelley checks in on Mike. Now, Vanessa is a security guard in the game, originally a programmer from Help Wanted, and she comes back as a brainwashed security guard in Security Breach. In this movie, she is retconned to be William Afton's daughter, which I think makes this movie a different continuity from the game. It's widely believed and pretty much accepted among the fan base that Mike Schmidt, the main character, is William Afton's son, in the games at least. Vanessa activates Freddy's band, and listen to the music lyrics. Close your eyes, go to sleep. it's just creepy. Later, when Jeff's gang breaks in to try to get Mike fired from his job, we see Bonnie's eye open on the security feed, and when we cut back to the feed, Bonnie is gone. And I love how we see this from the monitor to imply that this is something this gang would see if they were just watching closely, as you're supposed to do in the game. Also, I just love that this same angle on the two of them of the backstage animatronics is just the same angle of that shot from the security monitor in the game. And Jeff asks Carl,
Good? Yeah. Golden.
Woo! Yeah! Yeah, he says golden. Poor choice of words, considering one of the animatronics is Golden Freddy. Carl actually wears a shirt that looks like the Motorist arcade game from Pizzeria Simulator. But his name Carl, I think, is no coincidence, because Chica attacks Carl using Mr. Cupcake to devour his face, and in the games, many people nicknamed Mr. Cupcake Carl. So I think that's why the character has that name. Meanwhile, Hank has been smashing a lot of stuff, including the Employees of the Month board, and the N has dropped, so it looks like Employees of the Moth. And it's kind of fun because they're both Employees of the Moth and Employees of the Mouth, because some of these guys might have been devoured by the mouths, and now their bodies are rotting with moths picking at them. Am I overthinking it? Probably. But these photos are all other YouTubers known for Five Nights at Freddy's content. Like, you can see Fusion Z Gamer, you can see Razbowski, March is Baz, December is 8-Bit Ryan, July is Dawko. It's so cool that this movie paid credit to all the YouTubers who did so much to make this game so popular. Now, when Hank flees, Bonnie appears behind him in the supply closet, which is great because in the first game, Bonnie is the only robot you can ever find in that closet. And Jeff sees these robots in the monitor, and they both look at the camera, the same pose from the first Five Nights at Freddy's game. Max follows this ghost kid into a room with the remains of an animatronic dog, and I think this could be Sparky. Sparky's the urban legend of a sixth animatronic, who people on Tumblr would say would sometimes appear in the backstage doorway but would never attack you. But this is revealed to be a Photoshop hoax. But Max's top half gets devoured by the animatronic, bitten in half cleanly, a reference to the bite death in the 83 minigame. Mike shares with Vanessa his theory that all of our experiences down to the detail are still stored inside of us. While it is his belief, it is not actually how our minds store memories, folks. Memories are malleable and subjective. Our brain actually erases and warps memories in a way that it thinks will benefit our survival going forward. That's why in our judicial system we have a right to a speedy trial, because the longer you wait for people to testify, the more likely our brains biologically and chemically rewire the way we look at our own pasts. So just because someone recalls something or cannot recall something doesn't mean it objectively happened or it objectively didn't happen. Mike has another dream where the blonde boy draws up the yellow rabbit in the dirt, and he wakes up to find Abby being tickled nearly to death by Freddy, by Bonnie, by Foxy, and Chica. Mike connects that all of Abby's drawings have representations of these four robots, and they return to the pizzeria, and the camera pushes in between the F and the A of Fazbear, like the title shot in the Matrix film when it swooped in between the letters. They all build a fort, which is crazy. Vanessa finds tablecloths, and Mike asks how she knows where to look, because yeah, she spent a lot of time here as a kid, as we find out later. They see a disassembled animatronic with rosy cheeks, which could be Circus Baby. That's a robot hunted by the soul of Elizabeth Afton, the daughter of William Afton, which first appeared in the Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. And the fact that Vanessa is so protective of it, but it could be the fact that it has this claw ribcage that could trap you in and it's dangerous, or it could be that the character is a ghost. Well, I don't know. She did get stabbed at the end of the movie and she's at a hospital, but again, everything in this movie is called into question when it's from Mike's perspective. Now, if this isn't Circus Baby, I will admit that the fringe on the dress and the headpiece kind of look like those of Ella, a character from the books. Mike leaves Abby with Aunt Jane, and Mike revisits his dream, and the ghost kids ask for Abby in exchange for him being able to see Garrett reunited with the family in the dream every night. And he almost agrees to it. He says he actually does. Mike, come on, man. But he does renege, but the ghosts don't accept it. They attack, and Mike wakes up in the same chair with that Saw-style death trap coming in on him. He finds the other bodies. There's that dog one that might be Sparky. He chases Mike, humming a scatted pirate song that was actually performed by Kellen Goff, known for his voice work in the Five Nights at Freddy's games as Funtime Freddy. Freddy gets Abby from the house and kills Aunt Jane, and when she was watching the TV, it's the same angle as the ending of Sister Location with the TV. The cab driver is a cameo by another YouTuber, CoryxKenshin, who is also known for Five Nights at Freddy's content. Vanessa reveals that she is William Afton's daughter, and that the kids' bodies are hidden inside the machines, and that's why the ghosts are connected to them. And notice how her sweater is golden yellow, which I believe ties her visually to the yellow rabbit. When Mike breaks back into the restaurant, they're jamming out, and their song lyrics are once again pretty frightening. don't you know you're sleeping? As in again, could all of this be Mike's dream? Mike tases Freddy Fazbear and Bonnie, while Chica tries to put Abby in the shell for Circus Baby. I think that's what it is. Mr. Cupcake bites Mike's leg, but he prods Mr. Cupcake. Foxy stalks Abby, and Mike runs into the Yellow Rabbit himself, which is partly based on Spring Bonnie from the game, which was an early version of Bonnie that was introduced in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, the main persona of William Afton, who later becomes the identity of Springtrap. The first light that hits his character when he's revealed is purple. This rabbit wipes a knife with his fingers, which is another nod to Scream, when Stu, wearing the ghost face mask, pretending to kill Billy Loomis during the party, he wipes the fake blood off the knife just like this. And when he unmasks himself, Matthew Lillard plays the villain with the same unhinged acting style, pointing the knife to make a point, just as Stu does in Scream. William tells Vanessa that she had one job, keep him in the dark and kill him if he got too close, and she snaps back, that's two jobs, calling back Mike's retort in the earlier scene.
And you only have to worry about one thing, keeping people out. And keep the place tidy.
That's two things.
Abby draws a new picture to show the kid ghosts what William really did, and they turn on him. Mr. Cupcake takes a bite out of his side, and his rib claws jab his stomach, causing him to bleed out, and he says,
I always come back.
I'll be right back!
Yeah, I'm sure his ghost, or even maybe a physical form of himself, will come back in a sequel, especially since William Afton never dies. And in the final shot of the movie, we see the Yellow Rabbit twitching, just like he does for 30 years in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. So despite this first movie being set in the year 2000, this guy could return in a sequel set in our present day. In a mid-credits scene, CoryxKenshin returns as Balloon Boy gets in his cab, and over the very end of the credits is this creepy audio. Yes, the letters spell out, come find me. And what's really fun in international versions of this movie, they spell out different letters for whatever that language's translation of come find me is. So whose voice is this? I think it might be the voice of Garrett, because we never actually found Garrett's body in this movie. I think William Afton put Garrett's body in one of the animatronic puppets. I've seen this channel's past in-depth breakdowns of the trailers for this movie by Anna Vanston, who did an incredible job with an amazing attention to detail. Please subscribe to her channel, Goombana, for her amazing gaming related content, her theory videos. She's gonna have the best Five Nights at Freddy's videos on YouTube, trust me. Please support new Rockstars by grabbing a shirt from nerdriot.shop, like this Loki OB inspired We're All Gonna Die shirt. Please subscribe to all 3 channels on the New Rockstars network, this channel, New Rockstars, The Break Room, and The Deep Dive. Big thanks to Eric Saline for his help researching this video. You can follow me on all social platforms at EA Voss. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.